Hi Sewmate, welcome back to my channel. It's Needles by Tiara here. In today's tutorial, we're going to be learning how to sew a 3-part deep corset bust cup as displayed on the thumbnail. So on our last video, we learned how to draft and cut this 3-part deep corset bust cup, and in today's tutorial, we're basically going to be learning how to sew this 3-part deep corset bust cup. So if you have not seen the part 1 of this video, which happens to be the drafting and the cutting part of this 3-part deep corset bust cup, I am going to be leaving the link on the description box down below. Please do ensure to go check it out before you come back to watch the sewing part of this tutorial. So for all the required materials that you're going to be needing for the sewing of this beautiful 3-part deep corset bust cup, one of which includes, you're going to be needing your toe knits. So for the sake of this tutorial, I am going to be working with this pink toe knit. You're going to be needing your matching color of crepe fabric, which is this pink crepe. You're going to be needing your cloth gum. You're going to be needing an head stay, which is exactly what you're seeing here. And you're equally going to be needing your warden, though this is entirely optional. You can equally work with either a warden or your bust foam. And you're going to be needing your Regilene boning, which happens to be a sewable boning of 2 different sizes. I have the 0.25 and the 0.5. And you're going to be needing your matching color of thread. Lastly, you're going to be needing your well-drafted 3-part bust cup. Like I said earlier on our first video, which happens to be the cutting and the drafting part of this 3-part bust cup. If you have not seen that video, please do ensure to check it out. I am going to be leaving the link on the description box down below. So these are all the required materials that you're going to be needing for the sewing of this tutorial. Now moving forward, so like I said earlier on, this is my already drafted pattern, which we did initially on the drafting and the cutting part of this tutorial. And this is equally my crepe fabric, which I told you earlier on that I'm going to be working with. So this is a stretchy crepe fabric. And lastly, this is my cloth gum. So basically at this point, since I have a limited quantity of crepe fabric, I am going to basically place my pattern on top of my cloth gum, and I'm going to add all the required sewing allowances before we go ahead to infuse it into our crepe fabric. I hope you understand. So basically, I am going to place this pattern on top of my cloth gum and add all the required sewing allowances. So I've gone ahead to cut out a cloth gum that would be enough to accommodate my pattern, which is basically what I'm doing. Please go ahead to transfer your pattern into your cloth gum, place it on top of it, and ensure that your pattern is well labeled, center front to center front, side front to side front, the 2 bust points, and of course your under bust point. Moving on, we'll go ahead to label this point to be our under bust point and this point to be the upside. So this is entirely to help you and serve as a guide once you're done pinning all your points down, which is exactly what I'm doing. So having pinned down your pattern to your cloth gum, please, like I said earlier on, ensure that your pattern is well placed, side front to side front, center front to center front. It is very important. The 2 bust points. So we'd go ahead now to basically add all our required sewing allowances. So on this point, like I said, you're going to be adding 0.5 inch all the way round. At that point, you're going to be adding 1 inch at this point all the way round. For this other point, 1 inch all the way round. For your over bust point, 1 inch all the way round as well. So let's head over to input all of our basic sewing allowance. Place your tape from this point. Go ahead to input 0.5 inch all the way round. Please ensure to follow out the curve of your cup while inputting your sewing allowance at this point. I hope you understand. Now for this other point as well, you're going to be adding 0.5 inch all the way round, still maintaining the shape of your cup at that point. I hope you understand. So please ensure that you follow out the curve of your cup while imputing all of your basic allowances. Now at this point, go ahead to make a straight line at that point that extends all the way down this way. Having done that, go in with your pencil and connect all those points into each other to form your basic cup curve, which is exactly what I'm doing at this point. Please take your time while at this. I hope you understand. Now, having done that, please go ahead to smoothen out that point, blend it all the way round. Now, we're going to replicate that same process for this other side of our cup as well. Go ahead to input your 0.5 inch all the way round, following the curve of your cup. I hope you understand. So that is basically what I'm doing. Please go ahead to replicate same for yours. I hope you understand. So with that being done, now we'd go in with our pencil and we'd go ahead to connect those points into each other to form our basic cup curve, which is exactly what I'm doing at this point. Now take from these other points all the way down this way. Having done that for the lower part of our 3-part cup, now for the upper point, you're going to be imputing 0.5 inch all the way around while maintaining and following the curve shape rather of your cup at this point. I hope you understand. This is very important and crucial. Having done that, go in with your pencil and go ahead to connect all those points into each other to form your basic cup curve at this point, which is exactly what I did at this point. So having imputed the 0.5 inch all the way around at those basic bust point curve, now on the side, like I said, you're going to be imputing 1 inch all the way around. So you're going to be imputing 1 inch at that point for your side front at the upper part of your 3-piece cup. Go ahead to impute that 1 inch following the curve shape of your cup at that point. Take it all the way around this way. Having done that, for the center front, go ahead to impute 1 inch, taking it all the way down this way. Having done that, go in with your pencil and connect all those points into each other to form your basic cup curve, which is exactly what I'm doing at this point. I hope you understand. Now with that being done, for the lower part of our 3-piece cup, we'll go ahead to impute 1 inch following the cup curve of the lower part of our cup. I hope you understand. So basically take it all the way down this way. Now from that point, blend it all the way in. Connect this point into each other to form your cup curve, which is exactly what I did at this point. Now for the center front, we'd go ahead to replicate that same process, 1 inch all the way around while following the curve shape of your cup. Go ahead to extend that point all the way down and take this point all the way around. So with that being done, we'd go in with our scissors and basically eliminate all the excesses off from our pattern, maintaining the 0.5 inch and the 1 inch basic allowance we did imputed on our cup. I hope you understand. So please sit back and pay attention to all the points that I'm eliminating off from my pattern, and do go ahead to replicate same for yours. I hope you understand. So at this point, we've gone ahead to eliminate all the excesses. So all our basic allowances, you can see how it sits pretty at that point. Now moving on, we're going with our crepe fabric, and we're basically going to infuse our cloth gum to our crepe fabric like we earlier stated. But before we do that, please go in with your pencil and go ahead to relabel your pattern at every given point. It is very important and crucial, and this can never be overemphasized. Ensure to label your pattern at every point. The overbust point, the center front, the side front, which is basically what we did at this point. So with that being done, I need you to pay attention. So you go ahead to cut out another of these cloth gums. So one is going to be for your lining and the other for your fashion fabric. So with that being done, we've gone ahead to basically cut out the two patterns, one for our fashion fabric and the other for our lining. And we've gone ahead to infuse both with our crepe fabric, which is exactly what you're seeing at this point. And this was cut on fold. One for the fashion fabric like I stated earlier, and the other for your lining. So please, I need you to understand that the fabric that you're going to use as your fashion fabric is going to be the same fabric that you're going to use as your lining. I hope you understand. This is very important and crucial, and you'd have to pay attention to this. And another important aspect to the sewing part of this 3-part bust cup is the labeling of your pattern. So as you can see, my center front to my center front, side front to side front, 2 bust points, under bust point. For the lining part, the same thing, center front to center front, 2 bust points, under bust, the over bust point. So this cup placement factor, once compromised, would entirely lead to a total disaster, and you wouldn't want that as the outcome rather of your 3-part bust cup. I hope you understand. Now moving forward, we're going to first of all infuse our fashion fabric with our 2 knits. So we're going to keep our lining aside while we work on the fashion fabric. Now go ahead to take off your pins and your pattern from your fashion fabric, which is exactly what I'm doing. Having done that, like we stated earlier on, we're going to go ahead to cut out our 2 knits and infuse it on our fashion fabric. So you're going to layer these 2 knits either twice or thrice. So this is exactly what I'm doing at this point. Now pay attention. The 2 knit has 2 sides. the non-stretchy part and the stretchy part. So the non-stretchy part is going to be on the width, while the stretchy part is going to be on the length. I repeat, you're going to be placing the non-stretchy part as the width of your pattern, while the stretchy part is going to serve as the length. I hope you understand. So with that being done, go in with your pins and basically go ahead to hold it down. Allow your toolknit rather to be as relaxed as possible on top of your pattern. I hope you understand. Ensure not to stretch it out at any point. Just go ahead to carefully pin it all the way round, which is exactly what I'm doing at this point. Having done that, now go in with your scissors and go ahead to trim off some excesses at that point, which is exactly what I'm doing at this point. So while trimming off the excesses, ensure that you leave some allowance on the side, which is basically what we did at this point. So now you're going to go ahead to hold it down with a stitch all the way round. But before we do that, we'd ensure to go ahead to replicate that same process for the remaining side of our cup. I hope you understand. Go ahead, like I said, to hold it all the way around and basically go ahead to trim off the excesses. But before we do that, we'll go ahead to replicate that same process for the rest of our pattern, which is exactly what we did at this point. So please take note, you're going to be doing that for only your fashion fabric, right? And not for your lining, which is basically what I did at this point. Another important thing that I need you to take note of is the fact that you'd have to, basically go ahead to iron your toolknit before you place it on your pattern and cut it out. So now we'd go ahead to sew it all the way around. So let's head to our sewing machine to do that together. Now on our sewing machine, you're going to be sewing it from the toolknit part and not from the other side. I hope you understand. So basically go in with your sewing machine and go ahead to hold it down with a stitch. While at this, please ensure not to stretch your pattern. I hope you understand. Do not stretch your toolknit at all. Allow it to be as relaxed as possible. Go ahead to trim off the excess straight. Now go ahead to replicate that same process for this other side as well. At every given point, please ensure to cut out the excess straight. You want your work to be as neat as possible. Now for this other side, we'd go ahead to replicate that same process. Go ahead to hold it down with a stitch all the way down. As you're doing that, go ahead to take off your pins. Go ahead to cut out your excess straight, which is exactly what I did at this point. Now for the lower region, I would go ahead to replicate that same process. Go ahead to hold it down with a stitch. While at that, ensure to take off your pins gradually, and please, like I said, do not stretch your fabric. Allow your toolknit rather to be as relaxed as possible on top of your fabric. I hope you understand, which is exactly what I'm doing. Now go in with your scissors and take off the excess thread. You can see how beautiful our toolknit is well situated on top of our crepe fabric. You can see how it is looking from the inside out. Very beautiful, right? Now you're going to go in with your scissors and trim off the excess toolknit that you have at every given point. I hope you understand. So basically go ahead to trim it off and be careful while at this. So having done this for the upper side of our 3-piece cup, now we'd go ahead to replicate that same process for the remaining side of our 3-piece cup. So we're going to do this off camera and bring it back, and voila, look how beautiful our toolknit is being well placed on every part of our 3-part cup for the front pattern. We've gone ahead to hold it down with a stitch and trim off the excesses. So now, keeping our fashion fabric aside, we'd go ahead to work on our back pattern, which happens to be our lining. So first thing first, please ensure that your lining is well arranged just as I did at this point. Now bring the lower side of your 3-piece cup, the center front, the side front. Now bring the 2 bust points of your center front and your side front together. You're going to hold it down with a stitch of 0.5 inch. Now moving on to our sewing table, you can see we have all the points well labeled: center front to center front, side front to side front, bust point to bust point, the over bust region. Now we'll go ahead to keep the upper part aside. Now to the lower region, go ahead to align it to each other on the bust point and go ahead to make a stitch of 0.5 inch all the way around. So remember, on the bust region, we did imputed 0.5 inch at that point. So go ahead to sew out that 0.5 inch. Go in with your scissors and go ahead to take off your excess straight. Having done that, now we'd go ahead to replicate that same process for this other side of our cup. Now let me re-explain myself. From the 2 bust points of the center front and your side front, align it perfectly. From the bust region, go ahead to sew it with 0.5 inch all the way down to your under bust. go in with your scissors and take off your excess straight, which is exactly what I'm doing at this point. So having held your bust point down with 0.5 inch, the stitch of 0.5 inch, now I'm going to flip this to the right hand side, and you can see how beautiful my cup at the lower region is already taking shape. Now flipping it back to the wrong side, please go in with your scissors and go ahead to make notches all the way around that 0.5 inch. Please be very careful while at this so that it doesn't get to your bust, your seam line rather. I hope you understand. So on this other side of our cup, we'd go ahead to replicate that same process, notch it all the way around. Now go ahead to introduce your tailor's ham. Now bring your cup, go ahead to place it on top of your tailor's ham. Try to open up the seam lines and press open it with your steam iron all the way around. So at this other point, you'd go ahead to replicate that same process. Place it on top of your tailor's ham, open up the seam lines with your hot iron. We'll do that and bring it back. So at this point, I've gone ahead to press open my seam lines. You can see how well relaxed it is on both sides. On the inside, outside, you can see how well relaxed it is. This is what you definitely want to achieve as well. Like I said, take your time while at this to press open that seam line. It is very, very important. So now go ahead to arrange your pattern appropriately, side front to side front, center front to center front. Take note of your two bust points for the lower region and the upper region. Take note of your under bust point and take note of your over bust point. So now on the bust point of the lower region, you're going to align it to the bust point of the upper region. So to do that, now you're going to take from your center front or your side front. So this point here is my side front, the side front of the upper part of my pattern and the side front of the lower point of my pattern. I would go ahead to align perfectly from the starting point and I'll take it all the way around. So now aligning it perfectly side front to side front, would go ahead to hold that point down with a stitch of 0.5 inch all the way around. So remember at that point we did imputed 0.5 inch as our sewing allowance. So please go ahead to hold that point down with that 0.5 inch stitch all the way around. Ensure that you maintain the curve of your cup while at this. Having done that, go in with your scissors and take off the excess straight. So you can see we've gone ahead to hold it down with 0.5 inch all the way around. Now go in with your scissors and make notches all the way around. Be careful so it doesn't get to the seam line. Now flip this to the right hand side and you can see how beautiful our cup is already taking shape. This is so beautiful. Having done that for this point, now we'd go ahead to replicate that same process for the other side of our cup. With that being done, you can see how beautiful the both sides of our cup is looking. Now we'd go ahead to flip it to the wrong hand side, reintroduce your tailor's ham, go ahead to place your pattern on top of your tailor's ham. Now go ahead to open up the seam lines, go in with your hot iron and press open the seam lines, iron in properly just like you did with the lower region. Having done that, flip it to the right hand side and iron it down as well. So we'll do that for both sides of our cup and voila, we've gone ahead to iron it. You can see how beautiful it is already taking shape for both sides. So at this point, we've gone ahead to replicate what we did on the lining, exactly same on our fashion fabric, which is exactly what you're seeing at this point. We've gone ahead to join it and press open the seam lines. Now for our lining, you can see how that point is sitting very pretty. We've pressed open all the seam lines and trim off the excesses on both sides, which is exactly what you're seeing on this point. Now we're going to keep our fashion fabric aside while we work on the lining. Now on this point, we'd go ahead to basically impute our boning placement channel for our cup. So the boning placement channel rather is going to be on the lining. Remember on the side of this point we did imputed 1 inch all the way around, and at this point we imputed 0.5 inch, which is that joining point, which we've gone ahead to join it and basically trim it off. Now on the side, like we said earlier on, we did imputed 1 inch all the way around, over bust point, under bust all the way around. So now you're going to go in with your marker and your tape and you're going to be taking out that 1 inch. So you're going to be following out your cup curve while taking off that 1 inch. I hope you understand. So I am going to advise, instead of taking out 1 inch, please go ahead to take out 1.25. You do not want your boning placement interfering with your pattern. I hope you understand. So basically go ahead to input 1.25, take it all the way around your bust cup. I hope you understand. So having done that all the way around, now would go ahead to replicate that same process at the over bust point as well, 1.25 all the way around. So we've gone ahead to, input the 1.25 all the way around. Now we're basically going to go in with our marker and we're going to be connecting all those dots into each other to form our basic cup curve. I hope you understand. Having connected all the points into each other, you can see how pretty that point is seated on our cup. Now we'll go ahead to replicate that same process for this side as well. Having done that for the both sides of our cup, now we're going to keep one aside while we'll work on the other. Now moving on for our boning placements, please you'd have to pay attention. So all of your boning placement is going to be starting from this point. You're going to be imputing 1 inch from that point. 1 inch, get the midpoint from this point, 1 inch, come in again for that by 1 inch that way. So with that being done, I've gone ahead to impute 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, leaving the midpoint. So at this midpoint, I am basically going to go ahead to make a stroke at that point. So the spacing for our boning channel is 1 inch. I hope you understand. Now we're going to be connecting our boning from that point all the way over to the other side of our cup in a crisscross form. So there's various and many, boning placement channel, but we're going to be inculcating one of the simplest, which is this. So like I said, from this point, which is the 1 inch imputed, you're going to slowly and gradually take it all the way down in a crisscross form over to the other side of your cup, which is that point. So remember, we came in at that point by 1 inch and, basically connected it all the way down. Now for this other point, take from that 1 inch over to the other side of your cup, making it in a crisscross form or connecting it in a crisscross form. I hope you understand. Just in case you do not, please just pay attention to what I'm doing. You definitely understand. Having done that for that both sides, now from this point again, the 1 inch, you're going to connect it in a crisscross form gradually, and you're going to take it to the other side of your cup this way. So this is what I meant when I said you're going to be connecting it in a crisscross form. This is exactly what you're going to do for yours, and this is what a crisscross form placement looks like. Now from that 1 inch at the other point, you're going to take it in a crisscross form over to the other side of your cup as well. So please be very attentive to every single detail that I'm spitting at this point. I hope you understand. Having connected it all the way down in a crisscross form to the other side on both the points, you can see how beautiful it is sitting. Take it all over to this other point this way. Now from the midpoint of that cuff, you're going to take it all the way down to your over bust point. Now let me re-explain myself. I said from this point you come in by 1 inch. From that point, you further come in again by 1 inch. You'd get the midpoint, which is exactly what you're seeing at that point, and you're going to take it down to your under bust. Now you're going to connect from one part of the 1 inch in a crisscross form to the other side, and from this point all the way to the other side. Now from the other 1 inch, take it gradually to the other side in a crisscross form. Having done that for the both sides, now you're going to take from the midpoint gradually all the way down to your under bust. Having done that, now on the joining part of your bust point, you're going to be imputing a boning at that point as well. Easy peasy, right? This is what you're going to do for the both sides of your cup, and this is what your boning placement channel would look like on both sides of your cup. Very beautiful, right? Now moving on, like I said earlier on, we have about 2 different types of Regilene boning. I have the 0.25 at this point, and I have the 0.5 inch at this point as well. So for our cup boning placement, the most suitable Regilene boning is the 0.25, which is exactly what I am going to be working with on this tutorial. So it is much preferable because it is flexible and it is very easy to work with. Now moving on to our sewing machine, this is the 2 sides of our cup with our boning placement well highlighted with our marker at this point. Now like I said, I am going to be using a 0.25 Regilene sewable boning. Now please pay attention. You're going to be placing your Regilene boning. The curvy part is going to face the downside. You see the curvy part? It is going to be placed that way and not the other way around. So the curvy part is going to be placed facing the boning channels this way and not the other way around. I hope you understand. So please take note and pay attention to this. Next, now, like I said earlier on, having imputed all of our boning channels, which is exactly what you're seeing, now we're going to first of all go ahead to place our boning from this point. So place it from the point of 1 inch that flows over to the other side in a crisscross form. Please ensure, like I said earlier on, that all your placements start from that 1.5 inches, which you did highlighted with your marker. I hope you understand. So you'd have to take your time while at this and ensure that your boning is well placed on the channel. It is situated on your channel while you're making your stitch. I hope you understand. This is very important and crucial. Please follow suit. You definitely get it right. Having done that, please go in with your scissors and take off the excess at that point. Go ahead to sew it down and make your back stitch at that point. With that being done, go in with your scissors and go ahead to take off your excess straights at every point. This is very important and crucial. So with that being done, go ahead to stitch down the remaining side of our Regeline boning. Please go in with your sewing machine and go ahead to hold down the remaining side of your Regeline boning. Gradually take it all the way around. I hope you understand. So just in case you do not, please just pay attention to what I'm doing. Trust me when I say you definitely get it right. Go in with your scissors and take off all your excess straights at every given point. So with that being done, having placed down this point, we're going to be placing another boning that flows from one part of the 1 inch over to the other side of our cup in a crisscross form, just like we did earlier on with the other side of our boning that we just placed. I hope you understand. Please pay attention to what I'm doing and do go ahead to replicate same for yours. Once you get to the ends, please go in with your scissors and go ahead to take off your Regeline boning at that point. Having done that, make a back stitch and go in with your scissors and take off the excess straight. So with that being done, now you'd go ahead to sew down the remaining side of your Regeline boning. Please gradually take from that point all the way down, just like you did earlier on with the other side of your boning. I hope you understand. So once you're done, basically sewing it all the way down, please always ensure to go in with your scissors and trim off all the excess straight. You want your work to be as neat as possible. I hope you understand. Having placed down the both sides of our Regeline boning, now we're going to take the one that flows from that point all the way down. So from that 1 inch, we're going to place another boning, gradually taking it all the way down in a crisscross form over to the other side. Now please place your boning from the starting point of that 1.25 and gradually take it all the way around. This might not be the easiest thing you've ever done, but trust me when I say you'd have to take your time, and it is really worth it at the end of the day. So gradually take your time while at this. Do not be in a haste and take it all the way down. Having done that, go in with your scissors, go ahead to take off your excess Regeline boning, go ahead to make a back stitch, go in with your scissors and take off the excess straight at every given point. With that being done, go ahead to sew the remaining part of your Regeline boning. Take from that point gradually all the way down this way. So with that being done, we'll make a back stitch. Go ahead to go in with your scissors and take off the excess straight. Now we're going to place a boning that flows over to this other point, just like we did earlier on. So at this point, I won't have to say much. Just sit back and watch while I take you through that process. So if you have watched this video to this point, it simply means that you're getting value for your time well spent on this video. So as a little way of encouraging us to do more for the sewing community, kindly hit on the subscription button, like, share and follow for more of this related content. Done that, now we're going to place a bone that flows from the midpoint all the way down to our underbust point. Now place your bone at that midpoint, exactly on the boning channels, on the midpoint to be precise, and take it gradually all the way down to your overbust point. I hope you understand. This might not be the easiest thing you've done. Please just take your time while at this. You definitely get it right. I hope you understand. Now go in with your scissors and take off your excess Regeline boning. Go ahead to make a back stitch. Go in with your scissors and take off your excess straight, which is exactly what I'm doing. With that being done, now you'd head over to sew down the remaining side of your Regeline boning, taking it gradually all the way down. So now going with your scissors and go ahead to trim off the excess straight. Having done that, so as you can see at this point, on the midpoint of that line, I've gone ahead to place my boning. Sorry, I didn't notice my camera had stopped recording at that point, so I basically placed the boning that flowed from that point. This was what I did exactly. I placed my boning that flowed from that point all the way down, exactly on the midpoint of that bust point joining. I hope you understand. So I went ahead to stitch it all the way around. Now we're going to place a boning that flows over to the other side of our cup. Now going with your boning and go ahead to place it exactly on that highlighted lines that we did with our marker, and you're gradually going to take it all the way around to the other side. So going with your sewing machine, you'd have to be very careful while at this, so that your boning is, well placed exactly on the highlighted point curve which we did with our marker. I hope you understand. So like I said, please take your time while at this. You definitely get it right. I hope you understand. So now going with your scissors and go ahead to eliminate your excess regilin boning and go ahead to make a back stitch, going with your scissors and take off the excess straight at every given point. Having done that, would go ahead to sew the remaining side of our regilin boning. So I won't have to say much, just sit back and watch while I take you through that process. So with that being done, having sewed down the other point of our regilin boning at the curvy part, now would go ahead to place a bone at the over bust point that flows from this point all the way down. So this is how you're going to place your regilin boning. Place it ensuring that it sits exactly on that highlighted point. I hope you understand. So ensure it sits on the highlighted point, which is your 1.25 all the way around. I hope you understand. So dear fellow soulmates, aside from a well-drafted pattern, achieving a perfect 3-part bust cup requires attention to every single detailing, boning channel placement, part assembling. So every step and process is very important and crucial in the making of your 3-part deep corset bust cup, and it is worth paying attention to every detail if you'd want to achieve that perfection. I hope you understand. So having done that, now would go ahead to sew down the remaining side of our regilin boning. Would go ahead to make a stitch to hold it all the way around. So look what we have here, a perfect boning channel placement. You can see the perfection of our cup, how it is taking a very beautiful shape. So we're going to go ahead to replicate that same process for this other side of our cup, and we're going to do that basically off camera and bring it back for us to see the final result. And voila, look at how our boning placement is well seated on both sides of our cup. It is seated very pretty on every part, and this is the perfection you definitely want to achieve. Look at how it is sitting. It is not looking flattened at any point. This is the perfection you definitely want to achieve. Look at what it is looking from the inside out. So at this point, we're going with our tailor's ham, and we're going to go ahead to make our mold. So molding is a very important part. Please do not skip this part. It is a very important process. Just go ahead to place your pattern on top of your tailor's ham and go ahead to make your mold every step of the way. With that being done, let's head straight to our ironing table and make the mold together. Now this is our ironing table. Reintroduce your tailor's ham. Now grab your lining that has the boning placement. You're going to be placing it this way. Having done that, going with your hot steam iron. Before, if in case you do not have a hot steam iron, go ahead to sprinkle your water all the way around and gently go ahead to make your mold every step of the way. So the trick is your hot iron makes the command rather, while your regilin boning responds to the stimulus. It simply means that whatever you tell your hot iron to do is definitely how your regilin boning is going to respond. So conclusively, it means that whichever or however way you make your mold, it is definitely the end result you're going to arrive at. So you have to be very careful while making your mold so that you can achieve a perfect cup shape at every given point. I hope you understand. So this is not something you're going to be in a haste while at it. You have to take your time well, making your mold at every given point, which is exactly what I'm doing at this point. And you can see how beautiful our mold is sitting, very pretty. Our cup came out sitting very beautiful from the inside out. The perfection of this can never be overemphasized. So now we'll go ahead to replicate that same process for this side, and voila, look how perfect our cup is taking a very beautiful shape. Our molding is very perfect, and this is the perfection you definitely want to achieve as well. I hope you understand. Isn't this beautiful? Isn't this pretty? Isn't this giving all it's supposed to give and more? I know, right? Now moving on, we're going to go ahead to flesh our cup. So to flesh your cup, you're going to be needing a fiber. So this is what a fiber looks like, which is exactly what I have at this point. So just in case you do not have a fiber, please feel free to work with your head stay. But just that for your head stay, you're going to layer it up to 5 to 7 times. I hope you understand. So basically at this point, we're going to be working with our fiber. So to place our fiber, you'd have to be very intentional. And the intentionality is placing it exactly on the point that we have the boning. I hope you understand. It doesn't have to surpass the point that has the boning. I hope you understand. You have to place it exactly at the point that has the boning. Go in with your pins and gradually take it all the way around. Carefully pin it. Take your time while at this. Do not be in a hurry. I hope you understand. So with that being done, go in with your scissors and carefully take off the excess at that point. So please, while at this, leave some excesses on the fiber at that point as well. I hope you understand. Having done that, you're going to slash the midpoint from the underbust all the way up this way. Having done that, you'd go ahead to overlap it on top of each other, your fiber on top of each other this way, and carefully ensure that those points is well relaxed. Now go in with your pins and pin it all the way around. I hope you understand. So having done that, like we stated earlier on, please ensure that this point is well relaxed. Overlap it on each other and carefully go in with your pins to pin it all the way around, just as I am doing at this point. So please, if you do not understand, basically just pay attention to what I'm doing. You definitely get it right. Now go in with your scissors and trim off the excess fiber that you have at that point, which is exactly what I'm doing. So having done that for this point, we'd go ahead to replicate that same process for the other side of our cup as well. And you can see how beautiful this is looking on both sides of our lining. I hope you understand. Now at this point, remember, you're going to be stitching it from the right hand side, which is this pink point. You're going to be stitching it following that the curvy part of the regilin boning we placed at that point and the overbust boning that we placed at that point. For better clarity, let's head straight to our sewing machine to make that stitch all the way down together. So we're going to keep one side of our pattern while we work on the other. Now, like we stated earlier on the part that has the curvy part of the regilin boning that we had imputed, we're going to remake a stitch on top of the already made stitch line. I hope you understand. So basically go in with your sewing machine and go ahead to make a stitch, remake a stitch rather, following the stitch that we already made on the curvy part of the regilin boning that was well placed at that point. I hope you understand. With that being done, now you're going to go in with your scissors, make your back stitch, go in with your scissors and take off your excess straights at every given point. With this being done, you can see how beautiful our cup is already taking shape. Now moving on, we're going to go ahead to sew the overbust regilin boning that was placed at that point. So we're going to be remaking a stitch that was already made at that overbust regilin boning placement. I hope you understand. With that being done, we'd go in with our scissors and take off our excess straights. Please ensure that you take off your excess straights. And you can see how beautiful our fiber is well imputed. Now go in with your scissors and trim off the excess fibers that you have on that point. Please be careful so that you do not cut into your main fabric. I hope you understand. Please take your time while at this. I hope you understand. So look how beautiful our pattern came out looking. Our fiber is well situated at that point. It is well held down with a stitch on every side. I hope you understand. So moving forward, we'd go ahead to replicate that same process for the other side of our fiber off camera, and voila, you can see how beautiful our fiber is being well placed on both sides of our cup. Look at the neatness from the inside out. This can never be overemphasized. It has to be neat or neat. So look at how pretty it is looking from the inside out. This is the perfection you'd want to achieve. Now moving forward, now we're going to further flesh our fiber. So we're going to cover up our fiber with our head stay. So you're just going to go in with your head stay. Now go ahead to place it on top of your fiber this way. Having done that, now you're going to carefully trim off the excesses. Now go in with your hot iron and iron it all the way around. So you can do that twice or thrice. So we'd go ahead to do that and bring it back. I hope you understand. So we've gone ahead to basically cover our fiber with our head stay, and you can see how beautiful and how neat this is looking on both sides. This is definitely what you want to achieve. The neatness can never be overemphasized on every step of the way of this process. Now moving forward, we're going to bring back the front pattern of our cup. So this is our fashion fabric. Now take note of your center front and your side front for both your fashion fabric and your lining. So now this is the reason why I said at every point you'd have to label it every step of the way. Now moving forward, I would go ahead to reintroduce my pen to relabel this point to be my center front. This is my center front for that part, and this is my center front. Now the center front part of my fashion fabric, I would go ahead to place it on top of the center front part of my lining, which is exactly what I'm doing. I'm basically trying to arrange it so I do not get it mixed up. I hope you understand. Now moving on to our sewing machine, let's keep one part of our pattern aside while we work on this. Now like we stated earlier on, you're going to place your fabric right side to right side, which is exactly what you're seeing, center front to center front, which is what you're seeing, and your side front to side front, which is exactly what you're seeing as well. With that being done, now you're going to take your fashion fabric, you're going to fold it into two from the overbust point, and go in with your scissors and basically go ahead to make a notch at that point. So this is the notch for your fashion fabric. Let's keep this aside while we replicate that same process for our lining. Now fold the overbust point of your lining. Please, like I said, the overbust point, make a fold, go in with your scissors and make a notch at that point as well. So now you're going to face your fabric right side facing right side, center front to center front, side front to side front. Bring the two notch points together at that point. With that being done, go in with your pins and basically go ahead to hold it down. Now remember, initially while we transferred this pattern into our cloth gum, we did imputed 1 inch all the way around at that point, right? So at this point, you're going to be sewing down 1 inch. You're going to be holding both your lining and your fashion fabric by 1 inch or with a 1 inch stitch at that point. I hope you understand. So just in case you cannot eyeball the 1 inch, please feel free to go in with your marker and highlight that 1 inch before you basically go ahead to make your stitch. I hope you understand. So now go in with your sewing machine and go ahead to hold that point down by 1 inch from the midpoint, which was the notch point. Go in with your scissors and take off the excess at that point. Having done that for the one part of the notch midpoint, now we're going to replicate that same process. Take from that midpoint and go ahead to take it all the way down to these other points as well. So your stitch lines is going to start from the notch midpoint of both the fashion fabric and the lining. I hope you understand. So basically go ahead to hold that point down with 1 inch stitch rather. I hope you understand. So at the 1 inch stitch at your overbust point, go in with your scissors and make notches all the way around. Please be careful while at this so you do not cut into your stitch line. I hope you understand. Having done that, now you'd go in with your scissors all over again and trim off the excess at that point, leaving about 0.25 or 0.5 inch at that point. I hope you understand. Now reintroduce your scissors all over again and remake a notch all the way around. Notch that point all the way around. So having made my notches all the way around at that point, now I'll go ahead to reintroduce my hemming gum. So now please pay attention on that stitch line that we've already held down with 1 inch. Now you're going to place your hemming gum on top of that stitch line and you're going to remake another stitch following the already existing stitch line. I hope you understand. So basically just go ahead to place your hemming gum, go ahead to remake a stitch on the stitch line that has already been done before. I hope you understand. Having done that, go in with your scissors and take off your excess straight. With that being done, go ahead to take off the excess hemming gum at that point. So here's a major reason why the hemming gum is required. By the time you flip this to the right hand side, The hemming gum is going to help your fashion fabric and your lining to stay put in place at the overbust point. I hope you understand, which is very important and crucial. We'll go ahead to replicate same for this other side as well. And voila, we've gone ahead to stitch down the both sides of our cup, and we've gone ahead to stitch down our hemming gum as well. Now moving on to this point, you can see how beautiful, how well laid down that hemming gum is seated, and the stitch line that we have at that point. Now this is what you're going to do. You're going to flip your pattern this way. Go ahead to flip it this way. While flipping it, please go ahead to stretch out your fashion fabric. Stretch it out, ensuring that that point is well relaxed as possible, which is exactly what you're seeing at this point. Very beautiful. So with that being done, would go ahead to replicate that same process for this other side as well. You're going to flip it over on top of this the imputed point that has the fiber, and you're going to basically stretch it out. You need to stretch your fashion fabric as much as possible so that it can stay put and it can be well relaxed. And you can see what we have on both sides, sitting very pretty on every point. I hope you understand. Now moving forward, the next thing we'd go ahead to do is, remember on this point we imputed 1 inch all the way around, right? Now 1 inch divided by 2 would leave us with the value of 0.5 inch. So now we're going to fold that point in with 0.5 inch. So this is basically for those who would want to, transfer this cup into their dartless corset or any kind of cup corset that requires the placement of your cup on top of the pattern before you'd basically go ahead to dress it out. So now you're going to fold this point in, both the fashion fabric and your lining, by 0.5 inch. I hope you understand. Please take your time while at this. Do not be in a haste. Ensure that you have a folding of 0.5 inch for both your fashion fabric and lining. Now going with your pins and basically go ahead to hold it down. I hope you understand. It is very simple. Just go ahead to fold that point in by 0.5 inch for both your fashion fabric and your lining, ensuring that that point aligns perfectly, which is exactly what I'm doing at this point. So I am gradually going to do this for the entire part of our cup, folding it in by 0.5 inch every step of the way. I hope you understand. So just in case you do not, please, I would urge you to pay attention to what I'm doing at every point. Please go ahead to replicate same. You definitely understand better. So look at the progress that we've made so far. We'd go ahead to replicate that same process for the entire part of our cup, 0.5 inch all the way around, and you can see how beautiful our cup is sitting pretty with all the points well concealed by folding it in with 0.5 inch all the way around. So you can see how beautiful our pattern came out looking. Our cup, to be precise, came out looking on the inside out. We've gone ahead to pin it all the way around with that 0.5 inch, and you can see the neatness, the consistency, everything is given about this cup, and this is what yours is supposed to look like. Now at this point, remember we did imputed our hemming gum at that overbust point. So now you're going to go in with your hot iron and press down that point so that it can lay flat. So you're going to replicate that same process for this other side and would bring it back to see the final result. And voila, our cup is ready. Look how beautiful our cup is sitting. Very beautiful, very pretty. That overbust point is well laid. Look at how it is looking, very flat on both sides. This is the consistency, the accuracy you'd want to achieve having followed through the process, and of course you've gotten it right. So with this being done, our cup is ready. Isn't this beautiful? Look how stunning this cup came out looking. Everything about this cup is giving what it's supposed to give. The neatness, the consistency, the accuracy. This is certainly what you'd want to achieve for yours as well. So with that being done, we've come to the end of our tutorial. Thank you, and I'm going to be seeing you on my next video. Bye.